The big Switch 2 reveal event is behind us, and it feels like we have even more questions now than we did beforehand. While things like the June 5th, 2025 release and slew of launch window games have been solidified, there are smaller details that remain opaque. Some of these will become clear in time, such as what the future holds for new installments in franchises like Mario, Zelda, and Animal Crossing. Others are in flux, thanks in part to the current political situation in the US. And then more will remain a mystery to anyone outside of Nintendo's walls, like what exactly makes Mario Kart World hit the premium $80 price, while something like Donkey Kong Bonanza slides in at $70. And it's that last one that I want to focus on today, but not for the price reason. Rather, Donkey Kong Bonanza's impressive reveal and subsequent demos were followed up with the benign question of, so who's this being developed by? And Nintendo's response, as they've been doing more and more so over the past few years, has boiled down to wait until you finish the game and see the credits to find out, which is frankly a baffling decision. Nintendo has grown oddly secretive when it comes to which teams or studios are behind certain games. For every transparent example of Tears of the Kingdom being led by Fujibayashi, Aonuma, and the folks at Nintendo EPD3, we get games like the remake of Super Mario RPG, Princess Peach Showtime, Echoes of Wisdom, and Donkey Kong Country Returns HD, which are revealed and sometimes make it all the way close to release without any confirmation of who's actually developing the thing. Sometimes it's all but obvious, like Grezzo evolving the style they created for the Link's Awakening remake and Echoes of Wisdom. But other times it's less so, like Peach being helmed by the team at Goodfeel. And so, Donkey Kong Bonanza enters that same strange liminal space as the rest of these aforementioned projects. The safe bet is that it's the next game from EPD8, the core Mario team led by Yoshiaki Koizumi.
Thank you for playing Super Mario Odyssey.
The timing on it would make perfect sense, as Super Mario Odyssey was released back in 2017, and the smaller and more experimental Bowser's Fury followed in 2021. The Donkey Kong Bonanza footage certainly exudes some of the same creativity and sense of progression as those previous games. Plus, Koizumi served as the director of the bongo-centric Donkey Kong Jungle Beat on the GameCube back in 2004, which would make this whole thing a bit of a homecoming. However, the fact that Nintendo didn't just come out and say that it was this team lends some oxygen to the theory that perhaps this isn't the core Mario team's next game. Maybe this is the latest project from developer Next Level Games, who reached new creative heights back in 2019 with Luigi's Mansion 3. At this moment, it feels a bit like Schrodinger's game. Nintendo's handling of stuff like this feels even stranger this time around, as several other games shown off at the presentation had their creators represented front and center. Greg Kasavin from Supergiant talked about Hades 2, From Software's Hidetaka Miyazaki answered questions about the Duskbloods, and Masahiro Sakurai's involvement was used as a selling point for Kirby Air Riders. It's also a strange practice when compared to how the film industry handles projects like this. We recently got word that the Death Stranding movie at A24 would be produced by Hereditary's Ari Aster and written and directed by Michael Sarnowski, who previously made the excellent Pig and the surprisingly great A Quiet Place Day One. Of course, it remains to be seen whether this project actually sees the light of day, as famous figures in Hollywood have been attached to adaptations like BioShock, Gears of War, and Metal Gear Solid in the past, and those have yet to coalesce. But still, there's a level of transparency here that Nintendo could learn a thing or two from. The culture inside of Nintendo tends to shy away from elevating the individual over the team, as they feel like the quality of a given game should speak for itself regardless of who worked on it. In their mind, their games are Nintendo games, and that's all that should matter to the audience. Now, this isn't an inherently Japanese practice. Some of the most prolific forward-facing auteurs in games have been folks like Hideo Kojima, Suda51, Fumito Ueda, Shinji Mikami, Yoko Taro, Tetsuya Nomura, and my own personal financial advisor, Yuji Naka. To play devil's advocate, an argument can be made that revealing a specific developer can sometimes have a negative impact on audience excitement, depending on said developer's pedigree. This happened when Konami showed off the Silent Hill 2 remake for the first time, and fans found out that Bloober Team was behind the wheel of it. Their less than stellar catalog dampened some of the anticipation leading up to release, but once the game eventually got into our hands, it was clear that the Polish studio did justice to the iconic source material, and now folks are viewing the developer through a different lens. A similar thing occurred even more recently with Ivy Road's Wanderstop. Much of the excitement leading up to its release stemmed from it being posited as the new game from the creator of the Stanley Parable and the Beginner's Guide. That created specific expectations in certain folks, And when the game carved its own path that veered dramatically from its predecessors, that left some people disappointed that the finished product didn't adhere to what they had conjured up in their own minds. And just to reiterate, I am not one of those people, as I deeply enjoyed Wanderstop, and I really loved how it directly dealt with themes like audience expectations, setting unrealistic goals for ourselves, and creative burnout. But back to Nintendo, if it were just about not wanting to elevate an individual over the team, I would somewhat understand that move. But they're just straight up not being transparent with which of their teams, whether first or second party, are behind games like DK Bonanza. Now imagine how strange it would have been if PlayStation had shown off Intergalactic last December, but refused to clarify which of their studios were working on it. Knowing that it's coming from Naughty Dog, the developer behind Uncharted and The Last of Us, is a major selling point for me. And yeah, while a majority of the normies who play games don't really care about who makes them, the enthusiasts who tune into each and every direct kind of do. In a world where behind-the-scenes information is more readily available to the audience than ever before, these kinds of folks are becoming fans of the people who make the things they enjoy just as much as the things themselves. Humanizing the creators can help form a bond between them and the player, which we've seen in everything from Cory Barlog's long history with God of War to Toby Fox becoming synonymous with Undertale.
Oh, hi.
Hi, I'm Toby Fox, creator of Undertale.
Toby Fox, everybody.
But this all speaks to a greater problem in the industry at large, that being how difficult it can be for individuals who work in development to actually talk about and showcase the work they've done in the past. NDAs, cancellations, studio closures, lengthy development times, opaque roles, non-standardized crediting, and a lack of knowledge on the audience's part can lead to misinformation and massive gaps on a resume that exist because a person can't legally talk about what they've been working on for months and sometimes years at a time. It occasionally feels like we haven't progressed all that much from Warren Robinette having to hide his own name as an Easter egg in 1980s Adventure because the powers that be at Atari didn't want to credit their own individual developers, and that kind of sucks. I'm not saying that a company like Nintendo has to keep us posted as to every single decision that's being made. Over the past 40 years, they've excelled because they've marched to the beat of their own drum, and I absolutely want them to continue doing that. But if we're entering a future where $80 can be a new normal for a AAA game, telling us just who's working on a given project goes a small way towards making that pricey pill a bit easier to swallow.
They had the power to keep my name off the box, but I had the power to put my name on the screen.